Tips with Tony. Tips with Tony. All about nutrition from your favorite dietitian. Everything you need to digest in your mind. Tips with Tony. Tips with Tony. Making you healthier one bite at a time. With Tony. Woo.
Hello and welcome to the Tips with Tony podcast. I'm Tony Marinucci, your registered dietitian, helping you get healthy one bite at a time. Earlier this week, I posted on my Instagram account, actually I think it was like yesterday or the day before, but I posted about how you need to increase your calories to more than 1,200 calories per day, because doing anything less than that is not sustainable, not healthy, and just not realistic. And the responses were, a lot of people were like, well, how much do I need? And this is where I get really caught up, because nutrition is very individualized, and you're going to see the behind the scenes of all the different types of calculators used to calculate calories, and you're going to be able to identify how different they all are, and which is why working with a nutrition professional is usually the best way to figure out your calorie needs, because the best machines in the entire world spit out these numbers, but if at the end of the day you can't apply them to your daily life, then the number means nothing, right? So it's a good base and it's a good start, but it's never an end result, and there's always so many things that are changing. So I wanted to talk first quickly just to say why 1,200 calories is not the goal for you, and also why 1,500 calories if you're a male is not the goal for you. So males naturally need more calories per day than females because they have more muscle mass, which I'm going to get into. But at the end of the day, if we decrease our calories to below 1,200 for females or below 1,500 for males, then our bodies aren't getting our what are called the micronutrients, so the vitamins A and C and iron and vitamin D, and you're likely going to develop deficiencies down the line, and that's just not healthy. So yeah, you might lose some weight, but it's not healthy. And then the other reason why is because calories that low usually go below someone's basal metabolic rate, which is basically the calories that you burn at rest. And when you do that, then your body it starts to break down. It has no energy. It cannot function. It's not sustainable. And because your body feels like it's being attacked, because you're giving it so low calories, it will adapt and it will slow down, making weight loss harder. And then when you go back to increasing your calories because you realize this is not sustainable, your body doesn't think that your body needs that many calories. It thinks it's still being starved. So it actually keeps your metabolism low, which is why weight loss plateaus happen, which is why regain happens, and which is why people just tend to find weight loss really, really challenging. So I'm pretty sure I did another podcast episode about that. I also, if you didn't listen to the podcast episode with Alex Turoff, you definitely want to listen to that. We talk about what's called reverse dieting, which is helping you kind of get out of that weight loss plateau and reverse your calories slowly so that you're not going from completely extremes to all the way the other way. But now I'm getting sidetracked, so I'm going to go backwards. What I realized I didn't do is I didn't teach you what a calorie is. So a calorie is a unit for energy, and we need to consume calories daily, and we can get them from carbohydrates, we can get them from proteins, and we can get them from fats. But at the end of the day, if we exceed the total amount of calories that we're supposed to be taking in, compared to what we actually need, then we're going to gain weight. If we undereat the amount of calories that we need to take in, that our body actually needs, then we should lose weight. But as you just heard me explain, sometimes in extreme cases, our bodies are really smart because they're built for survival, and it doesn't always work out that way. So I try to get people to find that sweet spot. The sweet spot is if you're trying to lose weight, we do need to be in a caloric deficit, so you have to take in less calories than your body's burning at rest, but we don't want to go too low. And we obviously don't want to go too high because then you won't lose weight. So the sweet spot is something that you can realistically stick to, because consistency always wins if you're doing the right thing. So if you're consistently doing the not great things, it's not going to work. But if you're consistently doing the right things, then you're going to see success, and you're going to be able to lose the weight and keep it off long term, which is why I work with clients on healthy habits and behaviors, because we are what we habitually do. And that's ultimately how you're going to be able to lose weight and keep it off. All right. So anyways, if you're someone who tracks calories, or you use an app or something like that, then their app is going to give you a certain amount of calories. Maybe you're doing a fitness program, and the fitness program gives you this calculator and teaches you how to fix your calories. Now, I'm going to kind of go through all the different ways in which you can calculate your calories and highlight the pros and the cons to each. So some very basic programs out there will give you like a basic mathematical equation, and they'll everything is to calculate your basal metabolic rate, which is the calories that you burn at rest. So that's without exercise, that's without going to work or without going to school. That's just if you were to just lay on the couch all day long, but that's the amount of calories your body needs to make your eyes go up and down and your ears to hear and your arms to maybe lift a little bit, and your body to move and to digest and all of those things. So that's like the very basic, their basal metabolic rate. So we always want to know what that number is, because if we go below that, which many non-professionals will encourage you to go under that 1200, that's when your body will not function the way that it's supposed to function. Okay. So that basal metabolic rate for anyone, it could be anywhere from like 1,000 calories to like 2,000 calories, depending on your male or female. But we only really know that if we know your actual body fat and your muscle mass, your age, your weight, your activity level, those are the things that we would really need. Now, these basic mathematical equations that are used in a lot of, like MLM companies or just like corporations out there that are very generalized, because nutrition is very specific and they're not legally allowed to give you what's called a nutrition prescription and tell you your exact calorie needs. They'll use very basic mathematical formulas. And when you use basic mathematical formulas that are generalized, you're not going to get your specifics. You'll get an idea, but they're not always head on. So what a basic mathematical equation will use is something like your body weight. And if you want to calculate this, you can. If you're driving, please don't do this while you're driving. Sit down and obviously write this out if you want to. So you would take your weight in pounds, multiply that by 11, and that is your basal metabolic rate. So the calories that you burn at rest. Then if you're, say, moderately active, so you work out about 3 to 5 times per week, then you are going to add 400 calories per day. That would be if you wanted to maintain your weight with your physical activity, and that would be your basal metabolic rate. Now, if you wanted to lose weight, this is where everyone does it differently. If you wanted to lose about half a pound a week, you would need to subtract 250 calories from that. If you wanted to subtract a full pound a week, you would have to subtract 500 calories from that. If you wanted to lose 1.5 pounds a week, you'd have to subtract 750 calories. And if you wanted to lose 2 pounds a week, you would have to subtract 1,000 calories. Now, this is where it gets really, really complicated, okay? Because if you have someone with a basal metabolic rate of, say, 2,000, and now they want to lose, and they say, and even they add maybe their calories that they need for exercise, and now they subtract 1,000 calories because they want to lose 2 pounds of body fat per week, which is actually considered safe. Anywhere from 0.2, 0.5 pounds a week of weight loss, so all the way up to 2 pounds per week is actually safe. But decreasing your total calories by 1,000 from your basal metabolic rate is going to put you under that 1,200 calorie mark. So now you see where it's not sustainable. Okay, so that's where you have to be really smart, being on the user end, being able to recognize that if I try to lose weight really, really quickly, chances are it's not going to be healthy and it's not going to be sustainable. So I usually tell people to subtract about 500 calories. Some people, if they have a history of emotional eating, I usually put them at 250, minus 250. And if they have like some really like anxiety with food, sometimes I even put them at maintenance, because if they ever feel threatened, then feeling threatened is actually what causes them to binge and causes them to overeat. If they have like a history of feeling deprived or having an unhealthy relationship with food or a history of an eating disorder, then they're going to, if they feel like they're not eating enough, and if they take a look and they only have a certain amount of calories left, it might freak them out, and then they might just say, screw it, and then they go to the cabinets and they overeat. So I know my clients very well to be able to identify what type of caloric deficit I can put them in. You guys, if you're choosing to do this on your own, you have to know yourself best, and you have to know the type of person that you are. If you're someone who starts to feel restrictive or it feels hard, and now you compensate by overeating, and all these cravings come up, and now you're in the cabinets, and it's just not sustainable, then you need to make your caloric deficit a little bit smaller. Okay. So the reason why, if you notice, that basic mathematical equation, it's not really the greatest, is because no one told me their age in that, and no one told me really their height. And I don't know if their day-to-day activity is in fact, maybe they sit at a desk all day. So yeah, they're working out, 3 to 5 times a week, but because they're sedentary all day, because they sit on a desk, they drive to work, it's basically compensating for that. So their calorie needs might not be that high, right? Or maybe they're somebody who their day-to-day job is very active, and now we didn't give them enough calories, and then therefore they need more than that. So just to give you an example, if someone is 180 pounds and they use this mathematical equation, then their needs are going, and they're moderately active and they want to lose weight, their needs are going to be around 1630 per day. That's for male or female. Now, if we use a more advanced calculator like Mifflin St. Jeor, which is considered the gold standard what registered dietitians use, which I could actually, if you want me to calculate it for you, if you want me to send you an equation so you can do it online, then you could use something like Mifflin St. Jeor. Now, if you use 180 calories, now depending if you're doing a male or female, it's going to change the calorie needs. Now, something like Mifflin that wants someone who's moderately active, that's a female, to lose weight, is going to put their calorie needs at about 1,800 per day. And if they're a male, they're moderately active and they want to lose weight and they weigh 180 pounds, but they also are, I didn't put this in, they're also 5'5". So they're 5'5", so they're 65 inches, then their total calories are going to be 2,000 per day. So Mifflin St. Jeor is a much better equation than their basic mathematical equations because it takes into account gender and height and also activity level. So that's really, really important. Now, some of you might be using an app like my Fitness Pal or Lose It, and there's so many apps out there. And now, I'm not really sure, they all probably use a different sort of mathematical equation. The problem isn't that. I'm not concerned about that. The problem is the end user who then puts in that they want to lose 2 pounds a week, and then it spits out that this person needs 1,000 calories per day, which we know is not necessarily healthy. So that's where you really need to be smart about, realistically, how much can you really stick to this so that you're able to sustain it? Because if you can't stick to it, it's not going to work. Okay, that's the biggest thing. All right. Now, some of you might have the opportunity to go to a gym and get what's called an in-body scan, or if you go to college, my college had what's called the bod pad. That was really professional for athletes. Now, with that sort of machine, you need to fast for it. You need to make sure that you're properly hydrated, but not under or overhydrated, because it will affect your results. And you have to make sure that you do it consistently at the same time of day. So something like an in-body scan or a bod pod, they use what's called, it's an electrical impedance, and basically it's going to go through your body and it's going to detect how much of your body is made up of water, how much is made up of muscle, and how much of it is made up of fat. If it's mostly made up of body fat, then your basal metabolic rate is going to be lower. If it's mostly made up of muscle mass, then your basal metabolic rate is going to be higher. This is actually what is more accurate than Mifflin St. Jeor, than the basal metabolic, than the basic mathematical equations, and then whatever my Fitness Pal or whatever has you. Because your muscle burns more calories at rest than body fat does, which is why, if you guys have watched my lives before or you've listened to my podcast before, I've always talked about the importance of strength training. Strength training is so important because by increasing your muscle mass, you're increasing the calories that your body burns at rest. So you don't have to do anything. So when you go on the treadmill and you're doing cardio and it's telling you that you just burned 500 or 600 calories, and then you go and you lift weights and you only quote unquote burn about 120 or 100 or 200 calories, that's a lie. Like, yes, that's true, but what you burn after the fact by building up muscle is actually going to be 3 to 4 times the amount than you can burn in a cardio session. So strength training is really, really important. And also knowing your body mass, your muscle mass is really important, not only for basal metabolic, your basic metabolism, but there's a lot of like the BMI, the body mass index calculator, that tells you if you're healthy weight, overweight, obese, underweight. That doesn't take into account the fact that if you're on the BMI scale and you're, say, considered overweight, right? So your BMI is, say, 28 or 29, but you go and you get this body in scan and you're mostly made up of muscle, then that's not going to be taken into account. And in that state, you're actually metabolically healthy. You're actually very healthy. You're actually there's some people that have a BMI that's quote unquote normal, that say their BMI is 24 or 23, and they get on the in-body scan and their body fat percentage is close to 40%, which is not healthy, right? So it's not that it's good or bad, it's just so that you're aware that we can't judge a book by its cover, right? So we want our muscles to support our organs and our tissues, and that's for just general health, and obviously to prevent things like osteoporosis, which is brittle bone disease, and many other reasons. But also because then, if you want to lose weight, it'll make it a whole lot easier if you do more strength training and pay attention to your diet, right? So with that being said, now if you do have the opportunity to do an in-body scan or the bod pod or something like that, then you're going to get your basal metabolic rate. So for example, let's say that that's 2,000, a little bit high, 1,500 calories, right? So let's say your basal metabolic rate is about 1,500 calories. That means that your body burns 1,500 calories at rest without you having to do any physical activity whatsoever. So if you wanted to lose weight and you ate that, obviously you would lose weight, but we also want to make sure that you're supporting your workouts if you are someone who's physically active. So how do you now calculate your total calorie needs based off of your physical activity? So once again, if you're driving, please don't wait, pause this and write this down a different time. If you're able to write it down, you can write it down now. So if you are sedentary, so you're someone who you have a desk job, you don't exercise, then you're going to take that basal metabolic rate and you're going to multiply it by 1.2. Okay? If you're lightly active, so you work out about 1 to 3 times per week, you're going to multiply that by 1.375. If you're moderately active, you work out about 3 to 5 times per week, you're going to multiply that by 1.55. If you're very active, you work out about 6 to 7 times per week, and you're going to multiply that by 1.75. And if you are an athlete, you're very busy, you're always on your feet, and you work out maybe 2 days, or you work out most days of the week, 6 to 7 times a week, then you're going to multiply it by 1.9. Excuse me. So that, once again, now brings your calories back up. Now, if you want to lose weight, you're going to have to decrease by either 250 calories to lose a half a pound a week, 500 calories to lose, 250 would be a half a pound, 500 calories would be 1 pound, 750 would be a pound and a half, and 1,000 would be 2 pounds. Now, why? Because we believe, which is we're not even 100% sure, to be honest, but about 3,500 calories equals a pound. So if you're in a caloric deficit of 500 calories 7 days a week, that's 500 times 7, that's 3,500 calories. Okay, so that puts you in a caloric deficit of 3,500 calories, which means that you should lose about a pound a week. That's where we get those numbers from. Now, once again, if that still brings you down to under your basal metabolic rate, then you don't want to do that. You don't want to go below your basal metabolic rate, okay? Now, when you're working with a nutrition professional, this nutrition professional will, like myself, I'll take a look at what these calculators spit out, and then I'll look at the person, and I will adjust it based off of what I feel is most realistic for this person to stick to. Excuse me. And it's never done. So an example of that is I'll have a client where I have this one client actually where we put her in a caloric deficit, but she has a history once again with like emotional eating, right? So for her to successfully lose weight, we need her to be at around like 1,600 calories. Okay, she's in her late 50s, so she's going through menopause. She doesn't have a lot of muscle mass. She is overweight, and this is for her, that we know that if she can go, and she's also kind of short in stature, right? So all this stuff matters, right? So your height, your energy levels, your body mass, your age, your gender, all that stuff matters. So for her, she needs about 1,600 calories to lose weight. She has a history of emotional eating. I know this. So her calorie goal is at 1,800, and I give her a little wiggle room to 2,000. Every single day, she still eats around 1,600 because in her mind, she knows she has room. Okay? If I were to decrease her calories to 1,600 and she now saw that she only had 100 calories left, she would panic and she would overeat as a result. So knowing my client, knowing that for her to be consistent, I need to give her a little wiggle room. And so if she wanted to, even if she does eat 1,800 calories or 2,000 calories a day and doesn't eat the 1,600, she'll still lose a little weight, but it's not going to be at about that 1 pound per week, which I think for her gives her that motivation to want to keep going. Okay. So I hope that you guys got a little bit out of this. I hope you understand what a registered dietitian goes through. It's a lot of math, right? So if you're not clear, if you need this reminder, registered dietitians learn this stuff. To become a registered dietitian, you need a minimum of 5 years of schooling to learn this stuff. And then also from experience, just to be able to identify what is a good activity factor. So those multiplications that I gave you, those are going to vary based off the person's activity level, based off of just working with people over and over again. So this stuff comes from experience. So you can try to do it on your own, and if you need help with it, I'm more than happy to help you. But at the end of the day, you guys have to remember that there's really no specific number, okay? There's not going to be anything that's 100% accurate or true. We can only really guess, and what you're better off doing is listening to your hunger cues. Don't just eat more because your calorie goals tells you to, but also don't eat less just because your calorie goals tell you to. Try to eat near it if you're someone who's tracking, and really pay attention. And when you're getting close to your calories, right, and say you have like 1,800 calories to lose weight and you have 100 left for the day, and you're thinking, you know what? I'm a little bit hungry, but here's actually a better example. So say you're at your calorie goal. So say you hit that 1,800 and it's the end of the day and you're hungry, but you're like, but I already hit my calories. And now you're like, I don't want to do this. So there's two things that could happen. Number one, you could be like, screw it. I'm hungry. I'm just going to eat whatever I want that's in their refrigerator because whatever, I don't care. I don't have any calories left, but I'm starving. So I'm going to eat anyway. Or you can take a listen to your hunger cues and ask yourself, okay, what did I eat this day? Why am I hungry? Maybe I didn't eat enough fiber. Maybe, although I'm hungry, it is 9 o'clock at night. I am about to go to sleep. So maybe I could just have like a glass of milk or like a piece of fruit and call it a day. What's, a glass of almond milk is 30 calories. What's 30 calories over, right? Or what's a cup of berries? What's 60 calories over? It's like nothing, right? And so it's okay, right? So it really, I think tracking can be really beneficial if you're tracking appropriately and you're able to kind of check in and ask yourself, like, it'll kind of help force you to really ask those questions, like, am I hungry? Am I full? How badly do I want this? What did I eat this day? Those are general questions that I have my clients ask themselves all of the time to be able to assess if, in fact, this is something that is, sustainable for them, or if, this is something that they actually want or need. And I think being able to listen to your hunger cues and paying attention to your individual needs is always going to be the best case scenario. So with that being said, if you want to, actually, this will be fun. I want you guys to use what I said here, if you can, to try to calculate your own needs. If you want a calculator, what I will do actually in the link in the bio, and I know you guys are watching here on Facebook, I will put a Mifflin-St. Jeor equation there, and I'll give you also the tool to how to calculate your activity levels so that you can do it on your own. Once you do that, I want you to tell me what you thought, what your calorie needs came up with, and tell me what that is compared to what you're usually doing. And I want you to try to track that for about a week. And I want to hear your observations. Some of you might be like, oh my gosh, this is so much food. Some of you might be like, oh my God, this is a lot less than I thought. Whatever that observation is, I want to know. And if you want help or support or guidance, I will definitely help you through that. All right? So any questions, post them here. For those of you listening on the podcast, thank you so much for tuning in. If you're not already subscribed to the Tips with Tony podcast, please subscribe. A new episode comes out every Monday and every Wednesday. As always, I'm Tony Marinucci, your registered dietitian, helping you get healthy one bite at a time.